Declassified. The frequency of death. Inside the swamp bunker, where the buzzer ordered its own operator's execution. Introduction. The sound of the apocalypse. If you tune a shortwave radio to 4,625 kilohertzes, you will hear it. It is a sound that has been broadcasting since the height of the Cold War. A dull, monotone, mechanical drone. BZZZT. Pause. BZZZT. Pause. 25 times a minute, 24 hours a day. For 40 years, radio enthusiasts call it the buzzer, UVB 76. It is the heartbeat of the Russian military machine. Theories about its purpose range from a dead-hand nuclear trigger to a communication channel for deep-cover spies. But in the winter of 1998, the buzzer did something it had never done before. It didn't just broadcast a message to a spy in London or Washington. It broadcast a message to the man sitting inside the station. This is the story of Station Z19, a rotting concrete bunker hidden in the swamps of the Leningrad Oblast. It is the story of Sergei, the operator who devoted his life to the signal, only to realize that the signal had decided to eat its young. File number 01, the concrete coffin. Location, Karo Massif, Leningrad Oblast approx. 40 kilometers from Street, Petersburg. Facility. Relay Station Z, 19 subnode of the 143rd Communication Hub Operator. Warrant Officer Sergei V. The swamp does not forgive. In the dense birch forests north of Street Petersburg, the ground is a sponge of freezing mud and decay. Hidden beneath a canopy of camouflage netting and moss lay the entrance to Z19. To the locals, it was an abandoned weather station. To the Russian Ministry of Defense, it was a vital node in the monolith communication network. Inside, the air smelled of ozone, cheap tobacco, and damp wool. Sergei had been the night shift operator for 6 years. He was a man who preferred machines to people. He found comfort in the hum of the massive vacuum tubes and the rhythmic BZZZT of the channel markers. The routine. His job was mind-numbingly simple. 1. Monitor the automated transmitter. 2. Ensure the frequency, 4,625 kilohertzes, never drifted. 3. Wait for the voice. On rare occasions, the buzzing would stop, and a live voice from Moscow HQ, the center, would read a string of numbers and words. Sergei's job was to log them and ensure the signal strength was boosted for global transmission. He was a repeater, a human echo. He was not supposed to decode the messages. That was for the spies. He was just the messenger. Until the night of the 11th of November, 1998. File number 02, the silence. Time, 3:14 a.m. Moscow. Standard time. It started with a glitch. The buzzing, which had been the soundtrack of Sergei's life for 2,000 nights, suddenly cut out. Silence. Total, suffocating silence. Usually, when the buzzer stops, it means a voice message is coming within seconds. Sergei sat up in his chair, adjusting his headset. He grabbed his logbook and pencil. The red transmit light on the console flickered, but no voice came from Moscow. Instead, the audio feed crackled with a sound Sergei had never heard on the military band. It sounded like heavy breathing, a wet, rasping inhale, close to a microphone. Then a voice spoke. But it wasn't the usual monotone announcer from HQ. It was a synthesized, mechanical voice, distorted and cold. Command 19. Command 19. Sergei froze. Command 19 was not standard protocol. The messages usually started with a call sign like MDZHB or UZB76. He checked his frequency. He was still locked on 4,625 kilohertzes. The voice continued. Seraphim. 8800. Tango. Blind. Repeat. Seraphim. 8800. 00, Tango, blind. Then, the buzzing returned. File number 03, the Red Book. Sergei's hands were shaking. He had written down the code, Seraphim, 8800. He pulled the standard operating procedure binder from the safe. He scanned the list of authorized code words. Bromel, valid. Namina, valid. Seraphine, not listed. He checked the backup codes. Nothing. He checked the emergency war protocols. Nothing. A chill crawled up his spine. In the world of number stations, a code that isn't in the book is a ghost message. It usually means one of two things. 1. 2. The message is for a black operator, so deep undercover that their codes aren't in the general register. But then Sergei remembered something. Under the floorboards of the bunk room, there was an old, dusty safe left by the previous commander. It contained the Omega protocols, a sealed envelope only to be opened in the event of a total state collapse. Sergei, out of boredom, had cracked the safe years ago but never touched the envelope. He ran to the bunk room. He tore open the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, titled Internal Purge Codes, Classification, Cosmic. He ran his finger down the list. Seraphim, liquidate, on-site personnel. 88, immediate effect. 00, no witnesses. Tango blind. Station compromised. Sergei stopped breathing. The message wasn't for a spy in London. It wasn't for a submarine in the Atlantic. The message was for the cleaner team. The station had been deemed compromised. The order was to burn Z-19 to the ground, and the personnel to be liquidated. Was him. File number 04, the paranoia. Why? Sergei scanned the room. Had he made a mistake? Had he heard something he shouldn't have? Then he looked at the oscilloscope. The signal wasn't just coming from Moscow. It was being triangulated. The ghost message had been broadcast on a localized loop. It was intended for a receiver within a 10-kilometer radius of the swamp. The realization, a cleaner team wasn't coming from Moscow. That would take hours. If the message was broadcast locally, the cleaners were already here. They were in the woods, waiting for the signal to breach. Sergei looked at the CCTV monitor that showed the blast doors of the bunker. Nothing but grain and static. Then he saw it. A shadow moved across the camera lens. Not a deer, not a wolf. A shape holding a rifle. He was trapped in a concrete box, buried 10 feet underground, with the only exit guarded by a hit squad sent by his own government. File number 05, the dead man's switch. Sergei was not a soldier. He was a technician. But he knew this building better than the men outside. He knew that Z-19 wasn't just a radio station. It was built on top of a massive diesel generator and a cooling system for the high-voltage transmitters. The plan. He couldn't fight them. He had a standard-issue Makarov pistol with 1 magazine. They had Spetsnaz gear. But he had 20,000 volts of electricity at his fingertips. 1. The locking mechanism. Sergei hit the manual override for the blast doors. The hydraulic locks slammed shut with a groan. That would buy him 10 minutes before they could blow the hinges. 2. The signal. He sat back at the console. If he was going to die, the signal would die with him. He adjusted the transmitter. He didn't turn it off. He cranked it. He bypassed the safety limiters. He pushed the voltage from 5 kilowatts to 20 kilowatts. The vacuum tubes began to glow an angry, blinding orange. The smell of burning insulation filled the room. The trap. The ground of the station was connected to the metal floor plates of the entrance corridor. Sergei rerouted the transmitter's output. Instead of sending the signal into the antenna to bounce off the ionosphere, he routed the current into the floor of the entryway. Anyone who stepped into the airlock when the door breached would be stepping onto an electrified grid carrying the power of a lightning bolt. File number 06. The breach. Time, 3:45 a.m. A dull thump shook the bunker. Explosives on the door. Sergei stood in the back of the control room, wearing rubber-soled boots, holding his Makarov. The blast door groaned and swung open, smoke pouring into the corridor. Through the smoke, two figures in tactical gear and gas masks advanced. The first man stepped onto the metal grating. Crack. It wasn't a gunshot. It was the sound of air ionizing. Blue arcs of electricity leapt from the floor, crawling up the intruder's legs. He didn't scream. His muscles seized instantly. He dropped like a stone, smoke rising from his joints. The second man hesitated. In that second, Sergei fired. He didn't aim for the man. He aimed for the cooling tank directly above the entrance. The bullet punctured the tank. Hundreds of gallons of freezing, pressurized coolant, freon and oil, sprayed into the corridor, hitting the superheated electrical arc. The explosion. The thermal shock caused a massive steam explosion. The corridor turned into a white-hot pressure cooker. The blast knocked Sergei backward into the racks of servers. File number 07. The Ghost in the Fog. Time, 4 a.m. The station was dying. The lights were out. The only illumination came from the fires burning in the corridor. Sergei crawled through the emergency escape hatch, a narrow ventilation shaft that led to the swamp surface, concealed inside a hollow tree stump 50 meters away. He emerged into the freezing night air. The swamp was silent. He looked back at the mound of earth that covered Z19. Smoke was billowing from the vents. He checked his pocket. He had the logbook. He had the red book. He didn't run to the road. The road would be watched. He walked into the swamp, heading deeper into the mire, toward the old smuggler's trails that led to the Finnish border. Behind him, the radio tower of Z19 stood silent against the moon. The buzzing had finally stopped. File number 08. The Aftermath. Official Russian records state that on the 11th of November 1998, relay station Z19 suffered a catastrophic electrical failure due to operator error, resulting in a fire. The operator, Warrant Officer Sergei V, was listed as missing, presumed dead, but in the shortwave radio community, the legend persists. For 3 days after the fire, the frequency 4,625 kilohertz was silent. Then, on November 15, the buzzer returned, BZZZT, BZZZT, but the tone was different, lower, slower, the final twist. 6 months later, a radio enthusiast in Helsinki recorded a strange anomaly on a completely different frequency, 8,992 kilohertz, a U.S. Air Force frequency. For 10 seconds, a voice broke through the static. It wasn't American. It was a Russian accent, tired and hoarse. It read a single string of numbers, 19, 19. I am out. Do not answer. Was it Sergei? Did he make it to Finland? Or was it just another ghost in the machine? Conclusion: the watcher on the wall. The number stations are still out there. UVB-76 is still broadcasting today. The signal has moved locations now believed to be near the Estonian border, but the sound remains. The Sergei incident teaches us a chilling lesson about the world of signals intelligence. The machine does not care about the operator. To the number station, the human being is just another replaceable vacuum tube. And when a tube starts to flicker, you don't fix it. You pull it out, smash it, and put in a new one. Next time you tune your radio and hear that endless BZZZT, remember, someone is sitting in a room listening to it, and they are praying that the next code isn't for them.